He's back.
If you could pay $25 to $200
How?
as a user, not as a workstation, so like for your home PC, and you were like
Per
a
year?
diehard into yes.
Software as a service
Yep, let's do it.
to keep using Windows 7.
Yeah.
Did they ever add DirectX 12?
I don't know if they did universally. I know definitely some games that are DX12 work on Windows 7.
Right, but in like DirectX 11 mode.
I haven't done it because I haven't ran Windows 7 in a long time, so I'm not sure.
What are you running
didn't look-
now? You're on Windows 8, aren't you?
I was
8.1.
8.1 for a long time. I've recently poured over.
Oh no, you didn't!
Yeah.
Oh, you finally did it.
I had installed. Do you remember when my 8.1 like black screen bricked, and then I installed Mint, and then I was like, this is too tedious, so I
Yes.
installed another operating
Yep.
system. That other operating system was Windows 10, just because I was like, it doesn't really matter. All I really use is like Word, Excel, and a web browser.
Yep.
So whatever. So I just did it, and then my laptop was also Windows 10, so I was like outnumbered with my own personal devices.
You know what? Personal use, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no because the only justification for me to pay for an operating system is for it to have some kind of it has to enable me to do something that I otherwise couldn't do. I mean, for me, the operating system is just something that mostly gets out of my way.
Yeah.
And there are things about Windows 10 that are super obnoxious. It drives
Yeah.
me nuts to this day that I have to, what is it, an extra 2 clicks to get into my network connection settings. Like just stupid, asinine things. Like I want to know what the link speed of my Wi-Fi is. I don't want to right click, then this, then this, then this, then this other thing status. Like it just takes too long to do some things.
Audio settings, annoying to get to.
Super-
Basically, all of the settings are really annoying to get to.
Super frustrating and still not consolidated. Like some of it's in the old style control panel, some of it's in the Metro UI style control panel. Like finish your job at some point.
I have always hated this, and like even I've been switched to Windows 10 for a little while
It's been
now.
like 8 years.
Yeah, but this type of UI design, I don't know if you want to show that or not.
Hold on. Yeah, sure.
That's probably fine. I don't like this.
Yeah, well, Metro.
I don't think it looks good. I have never thought it looks good.
Yeah.
Aggressively boxy, and the majority of the time they're just like only text
Really flat.
or text with
Yep.
a box out of lines around
Remember Aeroglass?
it. Aeroglass was sweet.
Aeroglass was sweet. Vista still looks so good.
It does.
So anyway, for me, the operating system when I'm at home is just
Yeah.
to get out of my way.
Yeah.
And I actually on a machine that's working, one that I'm not tinkering with, I access that stuff shockingly rarely. Like on the computer, the computer I actually use the most now is the VR gaming rig connected to my TV in my living room.
Yeah.
Go figure. I never would have seen that coming. I use my laptop a fair bit, but like only at work. Oh no, okay, I lied. My workstation at work,
So-
I use the most.
I'm gonna tangent again.
Oh wow, okay.
I have to crush
up?
your heart a little bit.
What's this?
Jaden just decided to randomly get the song you were playing on
What a monster.
on Beat Saber after you played it, and I don't know why it's not loading right now, but yeah, he 100%ed it on Expert, full combo, no misses. It was a good live stream though. Expert plus 100%.
Anyway, I will address that later.
Oh, there it is. There it goes. Oh, whatever.
Anyway, so yeah, okay. What? That is so off topic. Wancho, I guess. So where my position changes on this?
Oh no, you said your
is-
VR PC. That's why.
Yeah, so my VR PC is the one that I probably use the most,
Yeah.
aside from maybe my workstation, which I use for work.
Yeah.
And I almost never dink around with anything. Like once I've got everything configured.
Once it's- yeah, when
Once
you
I've
first
got
set it up.
once I've got Steam VR set up to properly switch which audio devices when I open and close VR. Now that I don't actually try to use my PC to watch movies, now that I just use Plex through the NVIDIA Shield, all my Harmony stuff is like perfect. It goes to sleep. It wakes up properly with that ancient Microsoft IR receiver from like way back like 2002, 2003. Still using that thing. It's freaking awesome. Still has driver support. So I just don't really touch that stuff. So all I really do with Windows is go down to the task manager to like open a thing,
Yeah.
and that's it. Like that's the only purpose it serves for me. So at home, the only thing I could really possibly care about is that it like supports the stuff I want to use. And
Yeah.
I use pretty new stuff, so I guess that's fine. And even if I used older stuff, if it was for personal use, most of the personal use type things like a webcam or a printer cost so little compared to paying a maintenance fee for your operating system that you are probably better off replacing that. With that said, if I was a business, particularly a small business, like I had a neighbor before that ran a sign making business out of his garage, and he had like CNC software and
It has
like,
to be,
electronics design software that only ran on Windows XP. And
Okay.
so for him, the cost of upgrading compared to the cost of maintaining a software, maintaining an operating system, could actually be far more. Like that could convince him to spend $25 a year on,
So my one
Windows 7.
argument there would be,
or in his case, Windows XP. But like,
does he even need that connected to the internet?
no,
Yeah. So then he can just run XP and
right. But okay, let's say in a case where it was like a production system.
yeah. And there are those
Yeah.
airport terminals are really common for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a really great example. Or even just an office that's just full of people who just type documents all day and absolutely do not need new computers. Like the cost of outfitting an entire office with new computers compared to the cost of spending $25 a year per seat for 5 years.
Yeah.
Like,
And then just replace it when it's dead style
exactly.
approach. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, there are.
I would gladly pay a fee to be able to keep using Windows 8.1.
Really? But
like
you switched to Windows 10 voluntarily now. You have to justify that. You have to explain that.
you brought up the compatibility issue. My
Oh,
friends wanted to
okay.
play a game. I couldn't play the game with them. It's like, hey, well, this is pretty lame. Because like at this point, I play most games for like social reasons.
Right. So I looked it up, and yes, Microsoft did port DirectX 12 to Windows 7, but only for certain games.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So you were right about that.
I was pretty unsure, but yeah. So like,
How much would you pay?
I would definitely pay within that range.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think Windows 10 definitely gives me more grief than that cost is worth, if that makes sense.
What has it done to you lately? Is it that bad?
For everything worked perfectly before I moved to Windows 10, and I have done 3 reformats since this, trying to figure out what the problem is and installing not all programs every time, trying to narrow it down. But it hitches like crazy.
Really?
And will randomly like freeze. All screens will completely freeze, and then any game that is in full screen windowed mode
Yeah.
will and become a window. And I have no idea why. I've tried various NVIDIA drivers. I've tried like everything, and it just. I think Windows 10 just hates me personally at this point.
That does seem to be the only rational
I don't know.
conclusion.
Everything was perfect in Windows 8.1, and then now I just have a variety of issues. I find like one thing that I do fairly often is we'll watch like a show through my computer.
Yep.
Because I don't have a TV yet.
Yep.
And I'll switch the audio source to my speakers. And that's just annoying every single time because going into the settings and doing all this kind of stuff
Get
was way
SoundSwitch.
simpler. So is that an external program?
SoundSwitch. Yeah,
SoundSwitch.
it's a super lightweight. You can just set a hotkey.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's what I was using back when I was using wireless headphones on the TV sometimes. Well, I don't know if I ever actually ended up using them, but I set up wireless headphones on the TV and then realized that nobody in the entire building I live in ever sits and watches TV alone.
Yeah.
When people are consuming content alone, it's generally on a tablet or a phone.
Okay.
and when they're consuming it together, they don't wear headphones.
Yeah.
So it's those headphones have just been sitting there for like 2 years or 3 years or whatever.
Right.
But when I set it up, I got sound switch. Oh, and back when the audio switching for VR was a flakier, like in the very, very early launch days of the HTC Vive, I would use sound switch to like fix it if it glitched out. Just like, hey, you need to switch over to the other thing.
There's other stuff
it's
that's
pretty
just kind of annoying on probably a more like principle kind of level.
Yeah.
Like the start menu just being so stupid.
Yeah, the search is so bad.
And Windows 8.1 search was great.
My favorite one now is when I search for Teams, Teams, my first result is always TeamViewer. And my second result is always
Teams.
Microsoft Teams. And it's like, it's your own software and your own search can't prioritize it.
I will-
And I put the S in.
Yeah.
I'm not searching TEAM.
Which if you did, TeamViewer coming up first,
Makes
sure.
perfect sense because I
Yep.
use it all the time.
Yep.
TEAMS. And it comes up with TeamViewer. I can't actually show it here. I don't think this has Teams on it. Or TeamViewer, apparently.
And then it searches it. And like, even if you have a tough time
Yeah.
finding it, I never want you to search it. I am never going to search something online with the start menu. That will never, ever happen.
Right, but you're an advanced user.
I don't care.
I think-
Give me the option to control this. Let me turn web search off in this.
Can
in the
you
search
not?
Menu. I don't. Maybe I
Maybe
just
you
haven't
can.
found it.
I mean, the thing
The
about
settings menu
Windows,
sucks, so I'm not sure.
the thing about Windows is if you're willing to go in and play around with Regedit, it's actually very customizable.
So you use Linux.
It's actually very customizable. No, not necessarily. That's not always
You're going
the solution.
pretty far.
Okay, you're talking about you want to play a game with your friends. Linux ain't necessarily the solution there.
There's definitely a little bit more work.
Yes, that is a fair
But I
bit
also-
more work than
so
going
the
into
first
Regedit
thing-
and
the first
tweaking
thing that I
an
did-
animation speed or a whatever. Like
The first thing that I did that required a reformat was I followed the Linus Tech Tips Windows 9 guide, which like destroyed everything and was horrible. You guys need to add like a
What?
thing on the forum that says don't do this.
oh, is it bad now?
Yes.
Oh.
Very.
Because it was great when we first did it.
I'm sure.
Oh. Like honestly,
horrible now.
our export server is still running that.
I don't know. Maybe it works better with updates later
Maybe
on.
Windows just hates you in
Maybe
general.
that. Maybe that.
Because we've never gotten another complaint
one,
about that.
One of the software I don't remember what it was. You had to
Yeah.
get it from GitHub.
Yeah.
It's just super out of date and
Oh,
deprecated.
okay.
And like
Okay.
there's a few things like that
Right.
where applying them now might not really work as well.
Right.
But if you had them and you were updating with it, maybe Windows handles it better. I'm
Got
not
it.
sure. Or Windows just hates me. I'm happy
also
with
possible.
either of those
Yeah.
explanations at this point. Windows 8.1 loves me though. And I abandoned it.
So basically, how far did you get into this? So unless you're willing to pay a bunch of money, which I think we can probably both agree that unless it's for business reasons, you probably can't really justify it.
Yeah.
So unless you're willing to pay, you are SOL, or so we thought. So a bypass has been found that enables extended support updates for end users by bypassing the ESU key check. Unknown how long this will work for. I mean, Microsoft has demonstrated in the past that they're willing to turn a blind eye to end users working around their checkpoints, but not necessarily on everything. So one of the most famous examples of them just sort of pretending not to notice something is the free upgrade from Windows 7 or Windows 8 to Windows 10. They said, hey, we're going to end it at this time. Then they extended it formally, if I recall correctly, by some period. Then they either extended it again or they just
didn't turn it
ignored
off.
it.
Yeah.
And then they just never, ever, ever turned it off. So to this day, you can install Windows 7, free upgrade it to Windows 10, or you can just install Windows 10, use a Windows 7 product key, just like enter it at install, it'll just work. It treats them all complete. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did it the other day.
Wow.
Even once your Windows 10 is already installed, you can like go to activate, and I was able. So I changed the hardware in my VR gaming machine, and I needed to to reactivate Windows because it got mad. So
Okay.
the problem is that I hadn't actually dealt with that in a long time because I hadn't upgraded my personal rig in like 3 or 4 years or something like that. It had been quite a while, and they've made a lot of changes. So it is still possible to retain your license from one hardware set to another, as far as I can tell, although I didn't successfully do it because it looks like you have to deregister it first.
I will say one thing that was kind of nice
Yeah.
is I did instead of doing the I want to use a offline account thing, I used my actual Microsoft account
Yeah.
every time. And in this whole move, like I'm moving to
Yeah.
Windows 10 or whatever, I'm going to be like, I'm going to be super legit. I'm going to buy a key properly through
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah,
Microsoft account, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I kept the keys in my email somewhere. So I kept on just being like, I don't have a key. But then when I signed in, it would just grab it.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a nice
Yeah, so it's tied to the
That was
hardware.
a nice experience.
But that
Yeah.
means that you have to deregister it,
Yeah, but I didn't have to, is what I'm saying.
but you didn't change the hardware.
That's okay. To move it from hardware to hardware, you have
Right.
to, okay.
So the only way for me to do that would have been to rebuild up the whole computer, deregister it, and it's a small form factor machine. I was just like, no, I can't do this. So out of desperation, I had an old Windows 7 Ultimate key. And I was like, what happens if I activated? No problem. Windows
what-
10 Pro.
what-
Bippity boppity, there
you
you
get
go.
Pro? Okay,
Yep, Windows
cool.
10 Pro. Well, I had Windows 10 Pro installed, so I knew I was going to need something other than Windows 7 Home. I'm pretty sure that transition doesn't work. So the workaround that everyone I think knows about then is because Windows 7 was so easy to pirate. If you pirate Windows 7 and then upgrade to Windows 10, you end up with a legit Windows 10 install. And so Microsoft has had every opportunity under the sun to block that off over the last few years, but they just, for whatever reason, didn't do it. And we made a video about this recently on TechQuickie. It was like the most explosive TechQuickie we've ever made. People loved it. People hated it. It got 2.2 million views in the first few days.
What was it?
Which is crazy for TechQuickie. The title was, "Why is Windows 10 free now?" And basically, some people got really mad because they were like, well, it's not free, that's piracy. How many views does it have now?
2.3, I think.
2.375. That's nuts for TechQuickie.
Yeah.
And so people were mad because they were like, this is promoting software piracy. And actually, if you watch the video, we never say that it's the right thing to do. We just say that Microsoft has had every opportunity to close this off, and they haven't done it. And then we speculate as to why that might be, including some backup from statements that Microsoft and their leadership have made publicly about how Windows 10 is going to be the last Windows, and it's more about the install base, and it's more about building out the ecosystem, and it's less about trying to milk people for $126
Yeah.
or whatever an OEM Windows license cost every 2 to 3 years. They've accepted that they're moving away from that model and they're moving towards this more cloud-focused one. And honestly, you look at their profits, it seems to be going just fine in spite of them not selling as many Windows licenses, and new machine licensing fees aren't going anywhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've been convinced for a long time that it's not about selling to users that are like building their own computers and stuff. I think they've essentially never cared.
We're such a minority of a minority.
But exactly.
Like,
and if they can just like shut us up by being like, just take your stupid free operating system, that's almost certainly going to be better for them in the long run.
as
Like,
long
I think
as
it's
they're making money somewhere else, but
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and they've
But,
shifted,
like,
so they are.
selling OEM licenses and doing all these other things makes way more sense. Like oh yeah, you're all used to using Windows because it's free, ha 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 ha, and then now you have to pay for it when you buy a laptop. Or
I mean,
whatever.
how else were they going to
Bundled into the
maintain
price.
their dominance?
Yeah.
Because I don't think that in a world where Apple doesn't charge for operating system updates, in a world where Linux is continuing to get better and better and better, they were going to be able to keep charging you $100 and $150 every couple of years forever. That wasn't going to happen.
Some guy's having an aneurysm because he's telling me to change the audio output through the volume icon of the taskbar. I know, but it's like too many steps. That's my whole point.
Yep.
It was just easier on 8.1.
Yep. Oh yeah, it's just like more stupid things. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so what else do we have to talk about? For those who have hardware no longer supported, try out Linux. Hey, there you go. But don't stick with Windows 7 if you can at all help it. That is really important. Security is a big deal, and you ain't gonna have it. That NSA flaw is a perfect example of how, even though it's older software at this point, there are still absolutely exploits and bugs that are being found. So whatever it is that you are updating to, we did a video about this on LTT a little while ago, it should be something. So for now, there's the ESU key bypass, check bypass. No idea how long that'll work. For the future though, you're gonna have to do something. I mean, 8.1 I think has another couple years left on it. Not much though, actually, now that I think about it. When's 8.1 end of support?
It's already kind of lost a lot of different forms of support, just not security.
January 10, 2023.
But it didn't get DX12. It's not getting other stuff. It's the user base is so small. Like, I don't know.
Oh, no, end of mainstream support January 9, 2018. End of extended support January 10, 2023. Yeah, it's basically completely abandoned at this point.
They're ending that.
So Windows 10 is the only Windows. That's all there is to it. You can like it or you can put a lot of work into using something else.